Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading an Arlecchino listener by me. So let's get into it. The cold halls of the lab are dimly lit, casting long shadows against the metal tables and files that line the walls. You sit huddled in a corner, nails pulled up to your chest, trying to make yourself as small as possible. You've long since stopped crying. Tears do not help here. They only make Dottore frown, and his frown is far more terrifying than his smile. You learned that early on. His assistants moved around, ignoring your presence, and the silence was almost deafening. Then, the sound of sharp footsteps echoed down the hall. They were different from the usual shuffling of Dottore's subordinates, crisp, confident, and you glance up, curiosity flickering inside you despite your exhaustion. The door opens, and a woman steps in, tall and imposing. Her eyes sweep over the room, assessing everything in an instant, and her black and white outfit, marked with the insignia of the Fatui, tells you she is someone important. Her face is stern, but there is something else there. A sharpness, like a blade hidden behind her cold exterior. That had to be the knave. You've heard whispers of her, though you've never seen her in person before. She moves with the kind of authority that makes everyone stop in their tracks, even Dottore. "You're late," Dottore says, not looking up from his experiment as he fiddles with a piece of machinery on his table. His voice is flat, as if her arrival was nothing more than a mild inconvenience. "I'm never late, Doctor. You're just impatient," Arlecchino replies, her voice sharp as ice. And now Dottore chuckles, though it does not reach his eyes. He finally turns to her, the grin on his face sending a chill down your spine. "What brings the knave to my humble laboratory? Surely you have better things to do than inspect my work." "I am not here for your work," she says curtly. Her gaze flicks briefly to you, and you shrink back, hoping to disappear into the shadows, but you know she's already seen you. Dottore follows her gaze, a smirk tugging at his lips. "Ah, that child. A fascinating specimen, really. I've been working on a new series of enhancements. Quite promising." Something in Arlecchino's expression hardens at that, and she steps forward, her eyes narrowing. "You call them a specimen? That's a child." Dottore waves a hand dismissively, as if her words were of no consequence. "A child, yes, but one that has the potential to be something far greater. I am simply pushing the boundaries of what is possible." Arlecchino's eyes darken, her fists clenching at her sides. "This isn't what we do, Dottore. The children in my care are to be protected, not used like some experiment." Dottore smiles, but it's the kind of smiles that makes your stomach turn. "Your children are under your care, but this one was given to me, and they're mine to do with as I please." Something shifts in the air, a tension that makes the assistants pause in their work, their eyes flicking nervously between Dottore and Arlecchino. You hold your breath, unsure of what's about to happen, and she takes another step forward. Her voice drops dangerously low. "I don't care who gave you this child. You're done here." Dottore's grin falters for just a moment, before he laughs, a cold, hollow sound. "And what do you plan to do, knave? Take them from me? You've never had a taste for meddling in my affairs before, so why the sudden interest?" "They're not yours. Not anymore," Arlecchino says, and for a long moment, the two of them stare at each other, the tension in the room thick enough to be cut with a knife. and you can see the fury in Dottore's eyes, though he does not say a word. Then, without warning, she moves, crossing the room in a few swift strides, and kneels down in front of you, her eyes softening just slightly as they meet yours. Can you stand? She asks gently, her voice no longer harsh. You blink up at her, unsure of how to respond. No one's spoken to you like that in as long as you can remember. And slowly, you nod, your legs trembling as you rise to your feet. Arlecchino stands with you, her hand resting lightly on your shoulder. Good. And she turns to Dottore. This child is coming with me. And Dottore's smile fades completely, his eyes narrowing dangerously. You overstep, Arlecchino. I do what's necessary. You've had enough time to toy with them, and I will not allow it any longer. Dottore stares at her for a long moment, his eyes burning with something dark and unreadable, but after what feels like an eternity, he simply shrugs and turns back to his work. Do as you please, but don't come crying to me when you can't control them. Arlecchino does not respond. Instead, she turns to you, her grip firm but not unkind, as she leads you toward the door. And once you are outside the lab, the cold, sterile atmosphere is replaced by the quiet, imposing corridors of the Fatui headquarters. You stumble slightly, the exhaustion and fear catching up to you all at once. But Arlecchino is there, steady and sure, guiding you through the maze of halls until you finally emerge into the open air. She takes off her coat, putting it over you to shield you from the cold. And she speaks again, her voice softer this time. You're safe now. Don't you worry. Safe? The concept almost feels foreign to you now. But there is something in the way she looks at you that makes you want to believe her. And so, after a long journey, she finally guides you inside the house, the warmth of the hearth and the low chatter of the children, creating a stark contrast to the coldness you've known for so long. I'll make sure no one hurts you again. No one in this house will ever treat you like Dottore did. You blink up at her, tears suddenly welling in your eyes, and she kneels in front of you, her eyes soft, yet unwavering as they meet yours. From now on, you belong to the house of the hearth. You are my child, and I am your father, and I protect my own, she says, and you can only nod, the weight of her words settling over you like a blanket, warm and safe. And for the first time in a long while, you believe it. You want to. And it's easy to believe her when she speaks to you so sincerely. And for once, you're finally somewhere that you can call home.